damage. Like if the roof's fine, like we won't do that. But it's when it has 2 or 3 and the roof really needs to be replaced, but there's not quite enough damage for the insurance company to buy it. We just want to make sure that there's enough damage so that the insurance company goes ahead and replaces the roof. And so,
they were teaching you like that.
Yeah, like how to go through and just create the damages in order to get the whole roof approved. Okay. The second you think that you've got it all figured out, you're doomed. Yeah. Because there's always ways that we can go through, improve, level up, get better. And that's what life's all about, man. I mean, there's a reason we're here, And if we're waking up every day to go make somebody else's dream a reality, that's a tough pill to swallow. And so if we only get one shot at life, like, let's make the most of it. Let's have fun.
100%.
Because I'm seeing in insurance claims nowadays, if the homeowner is on the back burner and they're really not doing anything, then these carriers are just not responding to contractors, or they're just, no, we're not doing that, because they know the contractor can't do certain things. And so I want to be able to pour in and show all the folks around the San Antonio area how I do everything beforehand, what gets done on site, how are we labeling the roof, what photos are we taking, what can I follow a checklist? We're going to have that for you.
Welcome to Roofers Going Digital TV, where we present the leaders and the trends that are changing the path of the roofing industry. This is Pancho Serrano, and enjoy the show.
Hey, what's up, roofing fam? We are in one more episode, Roofers Going Digital TV. And this time we have Taylor Ammons. Taylor, welcome to your show, my man.
Thank you, buddy, man. I'm glad to be here. I've been familiar with it for a while and was trying to figure out how I got on the list to be here. So I'm pumped.
I know, man. Oh, you got everything we need to be in the show. And what is that? Is bringing something to the community, man. It doesn't matter who you are, but if you are bringing something positive, let's share it to everybody. So thank you, and thank you for all the information that you are gonna share. That I bet we are gonna learn a lot.
Oh, it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a great time. I'm positive.
100%. So Taylor, we love stories.
Yeah.
Okay? And we want to know everything about you, man. Like who you are, how did you start in roofing, what's your experience before roofing, what do you do right now? This is your show, so man, take your time. Let's go.
So, well, first off, thank you again for thinking about me. Thanks for having me. I love being able to come on here and do things like this because, the Taylor that I used to be was not really somebody that was going to be getting invited onto podcasts or somebody that anybody would really care to hear from. I mean, maybe if it was, how do I guarantee I'm going to go to jail tonight? Listen to Taylor, right? Because it was just, I grew up in a pretty traditional household. I mean, my parents got married, they had kids. My sister and I are about 2 years apart and grew up in Florida. My dad was military. We weren't one of the bounce around a whole lot military families, so I was grateful for that. When I turned, 11 or 12, my dad took another position in Georgia, so we moved up to the Georgia area. And then my parents actually ended up separating. At that time, I was about 12, my sister about 14. And it was kind of neat. I mean, the divorce was rough, but I've never really been one of those kids that was like, oh, it's our fault. It was just more sad that it was happening in general because you may know that mom and dad argue a little bit, but you still think that y'all are all going to be together forever. But we didn't really have any massive issues with custody stuff. I mean, we just did joint 50-50. And so it was super easy. Graduated high school in 2008. And then I was really just telling a guy earlier, I was supposed to go off military because my dad was military, like I mentioned, and then his dad was military. And I'm sure the lineage continues, but in our house, like the dudes would go into the military. And about a day or two before I was leaving to go to MEPS, which is essentially for the military guys, like your military processing. And so they go through and get all of your medical stuff squared away. And then the next step after your MEPS is they send you off to basic training or boot camp, whatever. And so a couple days before I was going to MEPS, I talked to my dad and was like, hey, look, I'm going to go ahead and go to college for a year. So decided to do that. And that was the first mistake. And now college was a fresh start. I mean, I was in a new town. I had obviously some friends from high school, but I was going to an agricultural school down in South Georgia. And the only reason I wanted to go to this school is because a guy I knew growing up rode horses, did a lot of team roping and rodeo stuff. And this college had a rodeo team, and I really wanted to try and figure out a way to get involved with those types of things. And by the time I got down there, they didn't even have their rodeo team anymore. And so it was like just a strange time in my life. But I'm 18, the world is mine, and we're going to college and we're going to have a ball. And first semester, I was actually taking it very seriously. I mean, I was doing what you're supposed to, right? And so I was going to class. I would jot down notes in class. After class, I would come back to my dorm and study them and write them nice and clean and really digest what we covered in class that day. And I wasn't like that in high school. And so I was very neat. I was very clean. And so I think that was where some of that discipline was starting. And that led me to the dean's list. I had like a 3.79 GPA on like I think it's like 0 to 4 or 1 to 4 or something. At least when I was going through. I think it's since changed a little bit because I hear of people with like 4.9. So I think they might have changed the scale a little. But first semester was killer. Went home for Christmas break, and I was no stranger to partying. I enjoyed the party. I enjoyed drinking. I was the life of the party, if you will. And for the most part, I was pretty fun to be around. And then my second semester of college, I started meeting more friends. I started going out a little bit more, started partying a little bit more, started missing class, and then realized that the professors didn't care if you missed class. They weren't taking attendance. And so I just slowly started to drift off of the right path down the road much less traveled that I shouldn't have went down, right? Mm-hmm. There was all the warning no trespassing signs at the road, and I decided to take it anyways, right? And so spent a few months just really partying. I was working for the university, and then I bombed that semester, and then ended up going off to an internship in Savannah to go work on a golf course. Loved it, but again, was just wild out there and barely passed my internship, but I did. Came back to school, and when the first semester of my second year started, I don't even really know if I went to class much, because I just literally was working to make money so that I could party and then rinse and repeat. And I'm also experimenting with more drugs because in high school I was not a drug guy. I didn't smoke weed. I remember leaving a high school party because there were some people there smoking weed, and I came home and my dad was like, "What are you doing home? I thought you were out at that bonfire." And I was like, "Well, some people started smoking weed. I didn't feel comfortable. I wanted to come home." And so that probably made his day. He probably didn't know I was going to be sitting in jail a few years later for the same thing. And so, again, I was just all over the place partying, and then working for the school. But when I essentially stopped going to class, I ended up failing, and then it dropped my GPA down low enough that I was placed on academic probation, and then went into work one day and they came and told me like, "Hey, we found out you were placed on academic probation, so you're technically like not a student." And so they were like, "You can't have a job at the university if you're not enrolled in school there." So I was like, "Oh, well, that kind of stinks." And so that was how I lost that job. And it was my only source of income. So I ended up having to pack up and move home. And so that would have been, around 19 or 20 years old. And then, got a job, got back into the flow of things, started linking up with friends from high school, been out of town for a couple of years, and then ended up running around with a crowd that I shouldn't have been, and had a little drug deal that went a little sideways. Some guns came out. I ended up catching a gun charge along with an aggravated assault charge and a attempted armed robbery charge that led me to go sitting in jail for a little while. Got a $100,000 bond, and I really didn't even bat an eye at the bond because I was like, well, my dad still has property here, and that property is going to be worth more than $100,000, so I'm out of here. But that wasn't really how they calculated it. They did something with the tax assessor's value of the house, and then they take a percentage of that, and then that kind of gives you the number of what you've got in I guess equity for bond or bail. And so I ended up having to sit in there for 60 days to get a bond reduction, and then came home. And you would think that would straighten me up, but it really didn't. I mean, I stayed in and out of trouble. They ended up giving me 10 years of probation at 20. I think I was 22 at the time, but caught those charges at 21. But they gave me 10 years of probation, and then a little bit of a fine, but I got really lucky, man. And so that ended up leading me into the automotive industry when I came home from dealing with all of that. Started selling cars, and I had gotten into because working in my hometown, it was a lot of factory work, and so I ended up getting a job at a yarn plant, and then moved up to a supervisor position. And the supervisor that I was working for had a good friend that sold cars, and that was how I got connected with them. And I was really tired of working overnight, and I had a decent personality. I could talk with people, and so he offered me a job to go in and start doing automotive sales. And
what manufacturer?
So I started out at a used car dealership that specialized in Jeep Wranglers, and they'd soup them up, really. They would lift them up, they'd put lights all over them, they'd put a winch, they'd put all the bumpers and big wheels and tires, and so it was a really cool place to work at. Nice. We made pretty decent money there. But again, it was just the same vicious cycle of I would work to party, and then usually be broke by Monday or Tuesday. So I'm eating ramen noodles and stuff for 2 or 3 days until I get paid. and then do the same thing, blow it all. And so I got out of automotive sales when I was living down in Warner Robins, because I had some issues come up in North Georgia. And for the sake of time, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but had some stuff come up in North Georgia, moved down towards the middle Georgia area, down near my dad. And it really wanted to get me away from that scene that I was in up there, because if I'm a real advocate for, if you can get yourself into a new environment, you really can start over. And so nobody wants to do that. You may not want to leave your friends, but most of those folks are not actually your friends. Like they're really cool with you when you can do something for them. So maybe it's help them have a good time, or if you're buying them things, or if they can mooch off of you. But when push comes to shove and you're in a jail cell, do they truly care about you? And, if anybody's ever, gotten into any trouble, or I'm sure military guys experienced that as well when maybe they got deployed, is the people that they thought were best friends with them, you just lose touch. And so got down there to the Warner Robins area. It's actually just below Macon, and got a job at a restaurant waiting tables because I needed quick cash, and was going to find another dealership to go work for, and then ended up really enjoying this restaurant. It developed into a management position, and so I was running that restaurant and having a great time. I mean, life was going good. I was starting to save some money up, and then ended up getting around some people I shouldn't have, and started doing cocaine like super heavily. And I'd messed around with it when I was younger and in college, but I ended up getting back a hold of it, and it got a hold of me hard. And so I was kind of struggling to really get myself together, and ended up meeting a guy that owned a roofing company down there in Warner Robins, but he had 5 or 6 locations. And I'll still occasionally talk to him here and there because he was a really good dude, meant well. And but he was also one of those that loved storm chasing, had found roofing by going around doing storm chasing stuff, decided to start his own thing. And then whenever a storm would kind of pop up anywhere, he would storm chase that area, and then they would just kind of set up shop, if you will. And so that was how he started growing these locations. And so when I got there, he had probably 4 different markets that he was servicing. And when he explained the process to me, because I was leaving my probation office when this guy came up and introduced himself to me. And the whole time, because he was in the probation office with me, meeting a probation officer, and the whole time we were in there, I mean, he was dressed pretty nice, and he was constantly like talking on the phone and texting like crazy. And apparently he had seen me in my car sales gear, because I'd finally gotten back into a car dealership. And he was like, "Hey, dude," gave me a card and said, "Car guys make excellent roofing salespeople." And so I was like, "Ah, man, that's cool. Appreciate it, but I'm a car guy. Thank you." And we had a good laugh. We talked for a bit and then just kind of rolled out. And 2-3 months later, maybe, I had a slow month at the dealership. And in automotive sales, for everybody out there that's listening that ever did that, it's one of those where when you're hitting, you love it. You're like, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, because you're making 10-15 grand a month. You're just kind of really hanging out with your boys all day, and so life's great. It's the greatest job in the world. then when you get a slow month, you like want to shoot yourself, and you're just, I can't stand this. And so it was one of those months. And so I said, I thought back to a conversation I had with, I wish I could remember who, but they told me that never turn down an interview. Okay. You can always turn down the job, but don't turn down an interview, because it gives you a chance to continue to improve your communication skills and your interview skills.
I love it.
And so I tell people that to this day. I think it was some of the best advice I'd ever gotten. And so I went ahead, hit him up, and I said, hey, man, I would like to hear more about that and what all it entails. So went by his office, and again, I'm trying to get out of this like dark stage in addiction, and it was just not a great time in my life. And but was dating the woman that I'm married to now, and she was really encouraging to it, because when her and I met, at the time I was so deep into my addiction, but I didn't want to be. And so I would meet women, and we would start having a conversation, and then I would essentially let them know like what type of situation I was in right now, and they didn't want anything to do with it. And I get it. A lot of them had kids and stuff like that. But when they find out that like, you only sleep a couple nights a week because you're always doing cocaine, they don't really want to be around it. And I get that. But my wife was living in Nashville, so we had a long distance relationship going on. But, we were just talking at that time, or no, I think we might have been officially dating, one of the two. But anyways, I could tell her everything. I could actually talk about the things that I was feeling and struggling with, and there was nothing I could tell her that would make her look any different at me, because she's just genuinely a compassionate person. And what she did was essentially teach me how to love and respect myself, so that I can actually, live a good, healthy life. Because, anybody that's struggling with addiction, you definitely have some struggles with your self-worth, because you're not going to be treating your body that way if you're happy, right? So you're clearly broken somewhere. You may not realize it, but there's something deeper that's going on there, because you're ingesting those substances to fix something, right? Mm-hmm. And so even if it's just the compulsiveness, you're trying to chase that feeling or that high, whatever it is. Yeah, nice little sidebar there. But so we go interview, okay. And he's a storm chaser guy. So what he explains to me is the insurance model, but the insurance model in like 2018, right? Okay. And so that was around, because I would say, at least for me, the biggest catalyst was post-COVID. That's when everything really started to change.
I was going to ask you that. When was that time?
Yep. Yeah. So that would have been around the 2018-ish time frame. And then, he explains everything to me, and I'm like, oh, so this isn't like a sales position, really. Like, we're more inspectors, and then compiling this documentation to help this client, who then gets their insurance company to cover the cost, and we just do the work. And he was like, pretty much, yeah. Okay. And so when I thought about it, I was like, man, this could be pretty cool, because, my sales positions were at dealerships. So people would come to us, but you're just sitting there all day, or you're in an office all day. And so I liked the idea of being able to be out and about and go, be in the field and meet different people. And, it's funny because even to this day, I don't like being on roofs because I'm not really a huge fan of heights. Like if I get an aluminum 40-footer or something like that, and I'm going up on this big 2.5-story roof, my knees are knocking.
Who doesn't, man?
Yeah, and so I'm not a big heights guy, so it's hilarious that I ended up settling into this industry and this career. But
Taylor, how was your first sale working with this company? Do you have a good story there? I've actually.
Yeah, I've got a real good one. So, obviously the way that this guy operated, trained, and ran his business is how a lot of these, I would say maybe the storm chasing companies, really how they operate, where, when I came in, he ordered me business cards. He had a print shop right next door to them that printed some business cards. So I had some immediately as well while we waited on the nicer ones to be made. Okay. And then he gave me a couple shirts. We drove over to Sherwin-Williams. He bought a telescoping ladder that I still have in my truck. And what else? Oh, he had they were OC Platinum contractors, so he had a whole bunch of OC stuff over there. So I grabbed all of that stuff, and that was it. He sent me to Raleigh, North Carolina it was supposed to be about 2 weeks to go get trained by his top sales guy. Well, I get out to Raleigh. We have a really nice dinner the night before. Next morning, we're up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning and getting ready for the day. We go to McDonald's and then we get out into the field. And I remember we did an adjuster meeting, and then we went out that afternoon to knock doors. And we're working this neighborhood, and we're just team knocking. And once we finally landed an inspection, we all climb up on the roof, and it was just a single-story ranch. And they both looked at me. The guy that was their top rep that was there was an older dude, probably mid to late 40s. And then there was a younger kid there that was in his early 20s, maybe even like late teens. And they looked at me and they said, "Now we're going to show you how we get these approved." And they just started just creating damage all over this thing. They get down, they show the homeowner like, "Hey, look, you've got this damage." But then they explain to me, and I think this is probably the way a lot of these owners and sales managers will sell the vandalism stuff, is they were like, "We don't do it if a roof has no damage. Like if the roof's fine, like we won't do that. But it's when it has 2 or 3 and the roof really needs to be replaced, but there's not quite enough damage for the insurance company to buy it. We just want to make sure that there's enough damage so that the insurance company goes ahead and replaces the roof." And so,
they were teaching you like that.
Yeah, like how to go through and just create the damages in order to get the whole roof approved.
Okay.
And the owner would actually text the team's group message when he would hear about, hey, such and such's company was caught manufacturing damages through one of those sting operations. And so, like, it was just a weird place to be in. And again, I'm coming out of like a dark and addiction time period, and so I'm trying to like make something of myself. And so, after about, I was in North Carolina about, I think, 4 days or so, and I ended up calling Jasper, the owner, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm going to be good, man. You can just fly me back home. Like, it is what it is. Like, I can figure this out. Just go ahead and let me come back." And so he brought me back home. And so I'm going out networking. I'm meeting with insurance agents. I'm outdoor knocking. And a lady from church had come up to me, or we were talking somehow. We got connected. But she had came up to me at church saying that she had some roof damage and needed to do an inspection. So I go out there, I get up on the roof, and it was a 3-tab shingle, and I bet it had 40 tabs missing on multiple slopes. So I'm like, oh man, this thing is a slam dunk. Like, this thing's getting bought all day. So I go down and I was like, hey, there's definitely some damage up there. And yeah, we'll go ahead, call your insurance company. If you feel good about working with me, go ahead and sign this, service agreement, and I'll meet the adjuster out here. Did the whole spiel. So the adjuster gets there, and he's walking up. He's got a clipboard in his hand, and I introduced myself to him and let him know that, hey, I've been in the industry. Like, at this point, might have been a week or 2 weeks. It was long enough that within a day or so of me getting back from North Carolina was when I had landed that adjuster meeting, or landed the file that led to the adjuster meeting. I think the adjuster came a week later. So it wasn't too long after I'd started. And so I introduced myself, told the adjuster that I was brand new, and I was like, man, I want to learn everything I can from everybody I can. So I was like, I'd love to know what you know, what you're seeing, what you don't see. And so he goes, well, the first thing is on this little diagram here, and he like holds up a diagram of their roof, and it's got an aerial view of the house, and then it's got these little like marks all over the roof. And he goes, all of these little marks here are all of the shingles that were damaged the last time we were out here that we've already paid to replace. And so we can go look and see if there's any more though. And I was like, oh, so y'all have already like paid to do? He was like, we wrote a check to pay for the whole roof, but I'm guessing she didn't do it, but I need to go up here and at least take some pictures. And so I was so excited because I'd gotten my first inspection, my first adjuster meeting, and then come to find out this lady had filed this claim like a year before and kept all the money. And so I just told her like, hey, like, they said they've already given you money on all of this. And I can't really remember exactly what she said, but it was kind of something along the lines of, probably the same story a lot of people get, well, they had sent me some money. I didn't really know what it was for. They didn't tell me. And so I knew it wasn't enough to get a whole new roof. So we just didn't use it. And it's like, well, they didn't send you that money because you've been a good customer. They sent it to you because you needed to get some work done. And, but I liked it a lot there. I was down there for, no more than a couple months working with this place because, they ended up sending me down to Dothan, Alabama to try and help his brother get that location up and going. And then they sent me and 2 other guys out to Augusta, Georgia to work a little bit and get a location opened up out there. So I never had enough time to even settle into a market and be able to build relationships there because I wanted to go to all the agents, any realtors, like, it's like I think it's a book, but it's like, who has my fish? So it's like, who are the people that have my clients that I can network with that opens me up to all of the people I want to be doing business with, right? And so I couldn't settle in and get anything going. And I remember when I think it was like March of 2020, Nashville ended up having some tornadoes come through. It actually went like right through East Nashville. And my the owner I think he called me or something, but it was super late, and he was like, "Hey, is Loyal okay?" And I was like, "That's a weird question. A, you've never met her. B, she lives in Tennessee. C, why are you calling me at nighttime asking if my girlfriend is okay?" Right? And he was like, "I heard Nashville had a big tornado." So I was like, "Oh man." So I'm trying to get in touch with her. I think she might have answered that night, or it could have been the next morning, but she had slept through the whole thing. It was 20-30 minutes away, so all good. But he had sent me up here to essentially go storm chase what went through and see if there's any damages that are worth him having a company up here. And so I come up this way. Loyal and I are talking a little bit more. We're starting to get more serious. And, he had even made comments about, having, or if I had any interest in coming up to Nashville to help him get an office going. And it was a full commission position, 1099. And I wasn't necessarily opposed to it, but I also knew that I didn't really want to be alone a couple months into a brand new position, like responsible for starting this location, right? Because I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing, dude. And so I was actually in Nashville probably sometime around then, and Loyal and I were having a conversation, and the same company that in front was trying to also potentially get an office going in Columbia, South Carolina. And so just it's super visionary, and just wanted all these different offices and wanted to be a mega roofing company. And so I was trying to see, like, would Loyal relocate down to Columbia? Like, what does all this look like? And then when I was up here visiting with her, she was like, "Look, I just recently moved to Nashville, like within the last couple of years, and I love it up here. And so would you, like, no offense, but you just sell roofs, would you be open to finding somewhere up here to sell for?" And so I kind of told her that, hey, I'm not opposed to that at all. I think it'd be cool. But I can go out, talk to a few companies. And I was like, but I'm telling you, the way sales positions and sales reps work is if you can produce, they'll give you a job, right? They don't have to give you anything. It's all usually commission. So, it's no skin off their back to hire. So I said, I can go out, but I need to know you're serious, because I'll come home with a job and we're going to be doing this. And so she was like, yeah, let's do it. So sure enough, ended up going out, interviewing with a handful of companies, and locked in on Music City Roofers.
Okay.
Pretty big name in our industry, especially in Nashville. I know a lot of people know the owner. I enjoyed it over there. I feel like I learned a lot. I had, again, no training. And so I would literally, when I was doing all my door-to-door stuff, I would pull up Adam Bensman's YouTube channel. And I was so grateful, because he and I are good friends now. Good acquaintances. I wouldn't call him and he'd be like, "What's up, T?" But we're tight. But I would watch some of his videos on a certain pitch or something like that, and I would just go try it. And then Music City did a ton of door knocking, and so that was really how we generated most of our business. And then they also had leads coming in, but I wasn't really a fan of their leads, because a lot of them were a couple pieces of hip and ridge blew off, or I've got a little gutter section that got damaged, I need a repair, or I've got a pipe booth that's leaking and it just needs a little collar and some sealant and it's good. So I was like, hey, keep the leads for everybody else, like just turn me off, like take me out of the rotation, because I want to be able to go out and get like real jobs.
Nice.
And so, you know, because I knew I was comfortable in it. I'm like, I'll find the work. And then, but the thing is, I was still drinking like crazy, and I was the cocky sales guy, because, you know, especially once I got away from the drugs and it was just drinking, because you know, I knew that I was good, but then I also like wanted everybody to know and acknowledge that I was good, right? And so I wanted to like be that guy. And so I remember, because Music City at the time was doing a flat just 10% of gross for commissions. Okay. And so I was talking to one of the guys that I worked with, and I said, man, I think I'm going to get my own thing going, because I said they're giving us 10%, but they're making like 40 to 45% on all of our jobs. And so there's 35% there that is going to pay people that I don't think are doing anything that they're supposed to be doing, right? And so what I didn't realize until I decided to open up my own thing and go out on my own is that 30 to 35% that covers, you know, technically it's less than that because you've got your overhead and stuff, but that additional percentage out there at a reputable company that's functioning pays for a lot, you know, because there's, excuse me, I only get to do what I want to do. Like when I first started, I was only getting to go sell maybe 15 to 20% of the time. Maybe it might even be like 10 to 15% of the time, because you go out and work a handful of days and sign some jobs, and then now I need to be behind the computer doing more of the admin stuff. You know, we got to build the job, we got to schedule this. And I know some people that they're able to do it, you know, relatively at scale, you know, a solopreneur doing a couple $1 million a year or something like that. But, you know, mine was, you know, $1 million, $1.2 million, something like that. Which still, for anybody that is doing, you know, even 750 to $1 million, if you're doing all of that pretty much by yourself, or maybe you and one other, it's not bad, because it's a lot of work that'll go into it, especially if you're doing a lot of different trades on houses too. And so there was a lot of me getting my face kicked in for a while, just trying to figure it out. And I just loved it, man, because that's what, you know, and I tell people nowadays, and I think this is a wonderful note to be able to like slowly wind down on, is the fact that, you know, I'm not anti-entrepreneur or starting your own business. Like I think everybody should go to work for themselves, because I love how like the buck stops with me. If I want to take some time off, I can take some time off, but you just better make sure that your clients are taken care of. But when you're starting to look at whether or not you're going to open your own roofing company or construction company, I always tell people, I'm like, think about why you want to do that. Because, you know, if you want to have the freedom, if you want to have those things, that's great. But, you know, when you open up a company, you're committing long-term to your community, because you're fixing to be helping out a lot of people in your area, and they want to know that they're doing business with somebody that truly intends on being around. Because nobody, well, I'm sure some people do, but most homeowners are not going to want to use a fly-by-night company that may or may not be in business if they need anything, right? Like they want to be with a company that they're comfortable with. So, you know, if you're watching this and you're potentially thinking about doing your own thing, if it's just about the money or the commission percentage or this company's getting too much, you know, have a conversation with that company first and foremost, like express those concerns, but go find somewhere else, because there's going to be other companies out there that run really nice operations that uphold the same standards that you do, that you can go work for and then potentially even learn. Because if you want to get your own thing going, like, again, I think it's wonderful. You might be able to bring something, new and unique to the industry that we may need, or you may be able to grow a really awesome culture that can then help transform a lot of other people's lives. But if it's just about the money, go somewhere and sell, because I would argue that if you're a top producing roofing sales rep, you can make a couple $100,000 a year, and you truly do have all the freedom you want because you're a good sales professional. You can take time off whenever you want to. Just tell your clients that you're taking some time off, and you don't have any of the liability of the organization. You don't have all the stress and the headaches of, whether this crew did something that could get you in trouble, or just all that stuff. And so, again, I'm not anti people starting their own thing. There's got to be a way to break that vicious cycle of so many roofing companies that have their sales reps go out and just start doing whatever they want to do. And then you hear about stuff like people running off with money or something like that. And it's just not worth all of that. And so I've enjoyed it. I love the industry. And, that's really what's led me to the position that I'm in now. And, I love getting to see other people get it. Like when you see that light bulb go off, sure. And you may see it on your end where, you're explaining something over and over to somebody, and then you finally see it click, and you're like, cool. This is going to help them for the rest of their lives. Like, you can be a person in somebody's life that they remember forever, because you changed their life, you made it better. And so that's what I'm grateful that I get to do today, because, the things that I went through, and that was a really 5,000 foot view of everything that my past consists of, but it all makes you who you are in this present moment, right?
Yes,
so,
for sure.
Our life is what it is. The past is what it is, but you can either look back and be a victim of your past, or you can look back and you can take some lessons from that, and you can do better as you go forward, right? And
who you are right now.
For sure.
Not who you were. Or who are you going to be? Hey, yeah. Taylor, so right now, do you still, what do you do? Like, do you have the roofing company, and do you do the consulting, or how is that?
Yeah, so there's really a couple things. So I've got the roofing company right now, and we're primarily insurance guys, okay. And focusing on roofing and gutter services. Again, I was doing everything, and then went roofing only, and then went everything again, and then realized whenever we go everything, we're not very good. We can find people to do it, and so I'll tell clients now, hey, if we're a roofing contractor. If you hire me to do your roofing and even like your gutter work, you're going to be so impressed. You're going to want to scream from the mountaintops. But the second you throw in some siding or some windows or something like that, I can go call anybody off Facebook and put a little markup on it and get the project done. But you're not going to be happy with all of that. And so I want to stay in my lane of what I'm good at, what I know. But yeah, I'm actually, about 6 months ago, the Building Experts Institute reached out to me because I'm really close with them. I think they have some of the best technical training in the industry. but they had reached out about me starting to take over their repairability certifications. So that's been a blast. It's been a lot of fun to go again, pour that into folks and just be able to, pardon this analogy, but like just vomit all of this information all over them, and they can just absorb all of it and do what they want with it. But then getting into a lot more consulting. And then we made an announcement on the 1st of April that I'm going to be transitioning into a lot more public adjusting work with Hrabowski Consulting. And so Paragon is going to ease down a little bit, but plot twist, I've got a friend of mine that has a few locations, and we've been talking a little bit because they may step in and just take over that book of business and run with it and slowly kind of transition the name from Paragon into theirs. So that's kind of exciting. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, and I told them I'm definitely open to it because I think there's something there. But with me realizing that a lot more of my passion is in the claims side of things and that kind of front end process, as opposed to the actual construction and getting the work done, I want to be able to focus on where I'm actually flourishing and enjoying and thriving. And so I'm also seeing how these insurance claims are being handled now, and contractors are struggling because they're still trying to use these old ways. So we're training folks. I've been able to speak more. And so there's a lot of really cool opportunities that we're looking at over the next couple of years that I just couldn't be more grateful for. And I do know that we got asked, myself and Dylan Mullins had gotten asked to MC RoofCon this year. So if you're not already, you need to come to RoofCon. Are you going to be there?
I don't know yet.
I don't want to hear that.
I'm planning to, yes. I'm planning to be there.
You better. Yeah,
I know. And if you are going to MC the event, man, it's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. But yeah, getting back into a lot of that stuff, always trying to be a sponge, always trying to be a student, man, because...
Great story, man.
Yeah, well, and the second you think that you've got it all figured out, you're doomed.
Yeah.
Because there's always ways that we can go through, improve, level up, get better, and that's what life's all about, man. I mean, there's a reason we're here, and if we're waking up every day to go make somebody else's dream a reality, that's a tough pill to swallow. And so if we only get one shot at life, like, let's make the most of it. Let's have fun.
100%. Hey, I love your story, man. Thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely.
Congratulations for all that achievement. What I feel is that it's only the beginning, man. You are just starting. You are young. We are young, man. How old are you?
36. You see, I got to think about it. When you get in your 30s, you got to start thinking about it.
At least you are not discounting them. Discounting the years, man.
That's true.
I'm 37.
Not long, I will be.
Yeah, I know, man. Okay, but Taylor, thank you very much. What can you offer to the people, and where can they contact you so they can know more about you, man, and if they need something that you are offering?
Absolutely. So on any of my socials, get at me at Taylor Ammons, and then Facebook's the one I'm most active on. Okay. Do a lot of stuff over to Instagram, TikTok. We're going to be really focusing on growing our YouTube channel the back half of this year, because I want to get a lot more of the stuff that I'm working on behind the scenes into more video formatting. And then we're going to be working on some more community-focused stuff through the Ammons Advantage over the next couple of months to, again, start getting those people in and just pour into people, watch people win, and then as a byproduct, we will level up, but putting those people first. So definitely get at me on my socials. On my social has my link tree as well. And so that's got all of my stuff in there. And so always get at me. I get a good bit of people that'll reach out, shoot me messages on Facebook, so stuff can get buried from time to time. So if you've shot me a message and I haven't gotten back with you yet, that's my bad. Shoot me another one. I'll get back to you because I always want to try and help folks out. But I got to make sure that I'm doing the stuff I need to do. So let's keep rocking. It's fun, man.
Exactly.
Let's grow.
Yeah, let's do it. Taylor, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. And thank you from all the roofing fam. Peace, fam. So, okay, this is the cut. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to start again, but let's talk about what are we having in the next, it's May 19, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I think mine's May. Yeah. Trip to San Antone. Yeah, okay, so it is at the ABC Supply. Yeah, because they're not very long, I see.
No, but you can take a little bit longer if you need it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can take a little bit more. Yes. Let me open it. Do you have any question about the event?
No, and I had actually sent an email over to, let me double check, maybe Bailey Ibarra.
Yes.
And so I was really just kind of asking her how everything worked as far as travel and hotel stuff. And she was just saying, I think it was pretty much just, hey, send us a mess or send us a copy of your receipts or something like that.
Okay.
We'll get you taken care of. So
Okay.
I wasn't too worried about that part.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you need anything else, Bailey can help you without a problem, Taylor.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna start recording this part.
I'm ready.
Hey, what's up, roofing fam? We are here with Taylor Ammons. And Taylor, we are gonna have you in Central Texas, in San Antonio, May 19. We are super excited. Can you tell us a little bit more of what are we gonna see and learn in a week and a half?
Absolutely. So first off, I can't wait to come out there. I was super excited to be asked first and foremost. And it's really cool to be able to come out and be able to pour into, one of the larger markets being in Texas. And so we're going to do a deep dive into documenting the loss, because with me being a public adjuster, but having a contracting background for years in roofing and doing a bunch of insurance and storm restoration work, I've seen how these insurance companies are dealing with claims. Okay. And since I've done a good bit of consulting, I'm seeing the files that a lot of contractors are putting together. And so you'll notice that there's a few different organizations that are doing paid workshops just on documentation. And so we're going to be covering documenting the loss. And so I don't hate on any training programs that are out there. I think if you look up and respect the person behind that organization, pay the money and go learn. I think people should go to every workshop, event, free event, paid event, whatever they can go to if it aligns with your values. But this one is obviously going to be put on by you guys over at ABC Supply in San Antonio. And so that's the one off Rittiman Road for anybody who was curious, if y'all have multiple ABCs in San Antonio. But yeah, we're going to deep dive into documenting the loss. So it's going to be everything from Like, because obviously, if we're documenting the loss, that's going to come into what happened before.
Okay.
What are we documenting while we're at the house?
Okay.
And then how do we organize and put all of that together and communicate it over to the homeowner so we can get them fired up and involved and empowered so that they can then take that documentation and get their roof approved, right? Or their loss approved. And then your role at that point is to continue to be there and advocate and support that homeowner if they need anything, but they're leading from the front and you're right there with them. Because I'm seeing in insurance claims nowadays, if the homeowner is on the back burner and they're really not doing anything, then these carriers are just not responding to contractors, or they're just, no, we're not doing that, because they know the contractor can't do certain things. And so I want to be able to pour in and show all the folks around the San Antonio area how I do everything beforehand, what gets done on site, how are we labeling the roof, what photos are we taking, what can I follow a checklist? We're going to have that for you. And so then how do I put it all together? What do I tell this homeowner? What do I say? How does all that work? So we're going to go over all of it. So we're going to make sure nobody's left in the dark. And so I'm super excited to be able to bring it, because I know I'll do a little humble brag. I know that probably most people in the industry are aware of Matt Mulholland, the hat guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so every time I get to do some stuff with Mulholland and I send him a report, he's always like, dude, your documentation is just always so nice. And I was like, I know, I just really love this part of it. And that's the stuff that separates you. Okay. And so that's the stuff that I want to help other people know and understand so that they can do it just as good.
Nice. No, I'm super excited. I'm super excited, Taylor. Fam, you cannot miss this one. You heard only the topics that we are going to discuss. Taylor, see you soon.
I can't wait.
Texas. I'm going to remind everyone, Central Texas, San Antonio specifically, on Tuesday, May 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. in the ABC Reading Man, like Taylor just said. Fam, we don't have every launch and learn. We have Taylor in every launch and learn. And if you want to know more about this topic, I don't see it that often. Yes, probably there is people teaching it, but it is not like you can find it everywhere. So fam, don't miss this opportunity. You are learning from the best. Thank you very much, Taylor. See you, May.
Thank you, man. I'm pumped. Y'all come hang out. It's going to be a good time. You won't be mad.
Yeah, exactly. Say no more. Thank you very much, everybody. Peace, fam. Thank you very much, Taylor.
Yeah, dude, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
Me too. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about you.